Honorable Myron Walwyn, Minister for Education and Culture, our author, Ms. Doris Carmona, her family and friends, well-wishers, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. We are grateful for you to be with us this afternoon, as we have had some postponement before, and we almost had another postponement. But because of the weather, we have had to make some changes, and we're really, really grateful that you are here with us today. We'd just like to say a special welcome to you for this yet another book launch ceremony organized by the Department of Culture. And this time we are launching the book, Lord, What Is This? By Ms. Doris Carmona. You'll hear much more about it. So special welcome to each and every one of you. Once again, thank you for your attendance. We're going to go right into the program, and we're going to ask Honorable Walwyn to come and give some very brief congratulatory remarks. Thank you.
And I'm indeed very happy that we, as Luce said, that we're able to launch this book, because I think it was put off before, Luce, as you indicated. And the inclement weather that we had, I woke up this morning and I said, oh boy, looks as if this will be off again. But I didn't know that Ms. Carmona was actually coming from St. Thomas. I only learned that recently, and it's indeed a pleasure to have you here, Ms. Carmona. You say you're from St. Thomas, but your mother's a Matavia, so you're from Tortola. I took the time to read through the book. I looked at it very closely, and we've been having a number of book launches here in the territory, and I hope that we're paying attention to really what is happening, that our people are beginning to chronicle things, stories, particularly stories about us as a people. And even when I reflect on the time when I was growing up, most of the books that you read came from elsewhere. And in many instances, you really could not relate to it. They were very helpful because you meant to many parts of the world just from reading a book. But now we have a situation developing in the territory. We've launched many books over the last year and a half or so, Luce, and many of them are stories about us. And I'm very happy about that. I looked through the book, and the stories are very fascinating. And I'm sure that the children in the schools and other persons in the territory would enjoy very much some of the stories that are written here. And they're short enough and written in a way that you can read a particular portion and then come back a little later on and read some more. What I wanted to point out specifically that I liked about it, Ms. Carmona, was the use of the local dialect in the book. And I know there are times when people say that we shouldn't use our local dialect in certain places. The key to using our local dialect is to know when to use it and where to use it. But we should never discourage our young people and our children from using it, because it is who we are. And I saw that it was very skillfully done throughout various parts of the book. And I want to offer remarks of congratulations and just say we appreciate very much this book and what you are doing. We're going to try our best to see how much we can get it exposed in the school system. It's a very good book that I'm sure can be easily added to the reading list in schools. I want to congratulate you again and wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister Walwyn. And yes, there are some good stories, especially the one about how the phrase "Barry say you'll hear" is in there. That's my favorite one. Okay, recognizing our permanent secretary, Dr. Marcia Potter. Thank you so much, Dr. Potter, for being here with us this afternoon. Now we're going to call on a friend of the author, Mr. Milton McLean, to give some remarks, please.
I'm very happy that Honorable Walwyn spoke before I came to the microphone, because I think he basically said all that needed to be said. But since I'm to speak, I'll just say a few words. This book, I actually found in St. Thomas. I went to visit a relative of mine. She's a Massuise. And while I was there in the waiting area, waiting to speak to her, I stumbled on this book. After reading about 2 pages, I said, well, listen, Milton, you have to get this book. So I asked my cousin, Laurie, where this book came from. And she told me about Ms. Carmona. So we telephoned her, and a couple of days later, I met her at the ballpark in St. Thomas. We were down there for baseball, Little League baseball. And she presented me with the book. And since then, I bought a few more. And the really important thing about this book is that it can be read and should be read by young people from the ages, I would say, from about 7 to about 77. Because this book ties in a bit of the history, a bit of the culture of the British Virgin Islands and the United States Virgin Islands. So this Friendship Day that we celebrate every year is a real thing. This book is really a relationship. It cements the relationship between us and the folks from St. Thomas. And sometimes when I go to St. Thomas and they ask me to put my 4 fingers and put my thumb and all that stuff, I smile because I say, look at this. They're screening us. And really and truly, I think that the people of Tortola and the people of St. Thomas especially don't need to be screened. We should have an open borders, Minister, because it's like that. And I really hope that the schools, all the kids in the schools, and every library in the BVI has at least one of these books. And I would venture to say that since the folks here are having access to this book, you should also get one for your relatives who live abroad. Because if they read this book, they'll see that we are a small territory, we have humble beginnings, and we've come a long, long way. And I'll just close by saying congratulations to Ms. Carmona, and thank you all for being here. Thank you very much.
Well said, Mr. McLean, well said. And yes, I was told by Ms. Carmona that you bought several copies after the first one. So now we call on Ms. Masha Frett, also another friend of the author, to give a tribute to Edith Johnson. And through her remarks, you'll hear who Miss Edith Johnson is or was.
Edith Johnson is the illustrator of Doris Carmona's book, Lord, What Is This? She was so supportive of Doris's work in progress, and she offered to draw pictures for the book. The book contains 7 of these illustrations. She accepted no pay and simply wanted to be a blessing to the author. Edith, better known as Edie, learned that she was terminally ill in September and traveled on to glory 2 months ago. Her best friend, Teresa Harden, wrote a tribute and read it at the celebration of life. She has granted permission for it to be read here today. A tribute to Edie, a sister and friend. A champion for the down and out, a warrior for the Lord, a tender heart for children, a teacher to the core. Passion was her way of life, devoted to the truth. Driven by her love of Christ, her life was living proof. She loved God and believed his word. Her family she loved next. With great joy, she shared her gifts, and others might be blessed. A former Marine, Italiana she adored, an artist by trade, and oh, so much more. A friend like no other, she would drive some insane, but she never intended to cause any pain. And speaking of pain, there was never a lack, but her faith in God, her answer to that. She loved with passion, husband, children, and grands, in-laws and outlaws, she embraced with her hands. Warm weather, sunshine, things that swam in the sea, she seemed to know it all. I know you agree. Swim instructor, dive master, skydiving, sailing the Isles, hiking, snorkeling, Cinnamon Bay with many a child. She cooked for the poor, helped Miss Armstrong's Bible Club, taught art to the youth, coached all to look up. Jeopardy, Agatha Christie, history, Trivial Pursuit, Italy and her family there, she loved her roots. What can be said of all that she loved? For she embraced all she was given from God up above. And speaking of God, don't waste time, she would say. Turn your heart to Christ and follow his way. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Frett. And as we just learned, Ms. Edith Johnson was the illustrator of the book. So now we're going to call on Ms. Charlene Adams, sister of the author, to introduce Ms. Doris Carmona, and the next voice after hers will be Ms. Doris Carmona, author.
I want to thank everyone for coming here today. I might look big and bossy, but you already could hear it in my voice. These kind of things I'm not, I do it occasionally, but I still have that fear. So pray for me. Okay, I'm going to be talking about the author. Doris Carmona was born and raised in the Caribbean culture. She was 18 years old when she first traveled away from the Caribbean. The United States would be her first stop in her visit of the 30 countries throughout the military career. During the first stop, she began a Christian and grateful live and a committed life. In all her travels, she felt like there was no place in the world quite like her home, with its colorful culture and tropical beauty. Occasionally, visiting the nearby islands of St. Thomas, she would marvel all the way her grandmother in Tortola lived, growing her own food, producing her own charcoal, and cooking meals in a coal pot. Ms. Carmona resides in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, ministering and a volunteer chaplain, United States Chaplain Faith and Hope, Inc., and a member of the Kail Women International. Thank you, and thanks for coming again.
Everyone is thanking you for being here, but I think I'm the most thankful. Because, you know, coming from St. Thomas, just being so excited, and then the weather came, and I was up very early just wondering if it was really going to happen. And I just really thank, you know, Ms. Hodge-Smith for putting her cape on today, you know, and everybody else, and pulling it off. So I appreciate seeing every face that is here today. So this all started 13 years ago. I received a prophecy while I was stationed in Puerto Rico. The woman specifically said that I would write a book that would be a collection of other people's stories. That was so far-fetched to me that I had forgotten all about it. And it wasn't until last year, September, when I published, that the Lord brought it back to my remembrance. And I was so surprised that something had actually came to pass and I hadn't remembered from so long ago. So here's the book of other people's stories. Amen. My family and relatives that lived in Tortola so long ago. Well, maybe not so long ago. So God is able to bring out of us what we can't on our own. And he even sent help. He sent Edie, the artist. He sent Ingrid, the editor. All these are friends. And Felix, the photographer. So they were all blessings to me and very encouraging. Now, hearing all these stories from my grandmother and mother, and then cousin Leonie's Joseph, Miss Jenny, and family and friends, these stories seemed unbelievable and funny at times. And I think I actually thought that this should be written down, but I didn't really think it would be me. I thought it maybe might be someone else. You know, but when I go to visit the family homeland in Doty Estate and Edney Mountain, you know, I always think about these people. I feel close to them. Even though there's not that many people living there anymore, you know, I haven't forgotten them because of the stories that I heard time and time again growing up. So I feel like the people that once lived there, I feel like they deserve to be remembered. Yes, the stories are being passed around, but when would they be written down? Of all the characters in the book, my mom and Miss Jenny are still with us. Miss Jenny was not able to be here today. So Lord, What Is This is easy reading, and the reader may read through the book cover to cover, or they may pick out individual stories at a time, like mentioned by Honorable Walwyn. I was told by a co-worker that I really held my mouth. Apparently, I had failed to mention how entertaining the book is. So, and to get started, I took a self-publishing class. I had very little formal training in creative writing, and I didn't know the process for writing a book, so I thought a class would help me out. I'm a member of Kail Women International, and within that group were members of another Christian group that called themselves Eagles. They made me aware of the Eagles International Training Institute, a Christian online school that offers many courses. All alumni are called Eagles. I felt drawn to the Authors Institute and enrolled nervously. I expected a class of creative writing, but it was nothing like that. It taught me how to self-publish. The creative writing part was totally dependent on prayer and lots of encouragement. Okay, I remember, I had a discouraging moment, and Miss Jenny, she said, "No, you have to write this book. I want my grandchildren and great-grandchildren to know my story." So at every point, I always had somebody to encourage and cheer me on. So I really appreciate my family for that. Okay. The Eagles International Training Institute is headquartered in Dallas, Texas. Each course is year-long, and then you can graduate from that course. I remember when Mom wanted to leave a legacy. One day my mom was gathering names in our family, how to spell and who was who, she wanted to get everything perfect. I later realized that she was trying to write the family tree down for her granddaughter in the States. I said, "Mom, we can do better. I'm writing a book, and I will put the family names in the book." Mom provided me all the names listed in my book and many of the stories. It was such a pleasure to see how enthusiastic she was, and still is, that she and her family will be remembered for generations. Mr. Dute was another person that was really encouraging with the book, because he said that his parents had died young, and he said, "I have to write this book." He was like, "You have to write this book, because I didn't get the stories, you get the stories, and I want your stories." So here they are. Another very encouraging person. So I want to whet your appetite with a little piece, just a little wet, not much. I'm reading from chapter 4. The tax collector rode up into the yard on his horse. No, let me back up. It was unusual for Wally and his family to wear rags, but that day, he ordered them to pull old tattered clothing from under the bed mattresses and wear them. The rags had been used as additional cushioning for the mattresses and protection from the discomfort caused by the bed springs. Wally placed a bedspread on the hall floor before commanding the children to sit down on it. He took some soursop fruit from a basket by the door and placed them in the middle of the children. On his signal, they were to eat those soursops as if they were the hungriest children in the world. Now, if you want to know why he did that or how everything turned out, you're going to have to read the story for yourself. So the newest generation in my mother's generation is born and raised in Connecticut. They know very little of Caribbean culture, and this book was written to help them make some connection with their roots. One of them, a couple years ago, saw a donkey, goats, and certain fruit trees for the first time in her life, right here in Tortola. I thought, something has to be done for these Yankee children. They can't be trusted to keep the story straight because they don't know the culture. Too many cultural details would be lost. I don't even know if a book is going to be enough. We might need a movie. We just might need a movie. I think that would be something, that's a dream that I have, to write a movie. That's been since I was 12 years old. Okay, so I surely never want to forget my ancestors and the sacrifices that they made to enrich our lives. I still remember how things smelled, how things looked, how people interacted with each other, and I just feel blessed to have been born in a time to catch that before it's gone. Surely we are experiencing a new era of modern living, and I am in no way advertising back from the technology that we now enjoy. I am saying, though, that we should treasure the humble beginnings of our emancipated families who made sacrifices to increase our potential, to excel, and choose our destinies. I encourage you also to pass on the stories of your family and the names so they will not be forgotten. Thank you so much, and if anyone has any questions, at this time? Okay. Also, I have yes, Barry say you'll hear. You're hearing a little bit now. You know, I do have a webpage at www.doriscarmona.com. So if you decide in the future you would like to order some more copies, you know, you're very welcome to do so then. Yes? Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Carmona, for your remarks. And yes, what you said is so true for us to write our stories, because every family has a story. So again, the little tease that she gave us, you will hear the reason why. I have a suspicion why. I didn't get that far, but I have a suspicion as to why that was done with the children. How much is the book? $15 for a book, for a copy. So please don't leave without a copy today. And now we come to the part where we make presentations of books, and the first book, of course, will be done to our minister, Honorable Walwyn, and then to the Library Services Department, apologies for the Archives Unit, and the Department of Culture. So Minister, Madam P.S., he's always there to collect, so he's giving, and he has his copy, my goodness. Are you reading while we're going through this program? Did you get to the part about why? Come, Dr. Potter, let's go. And that's it today, ladies and gentlemen. I think Ms. Doris has some folks that she would like to say thank you to. But before she comes up, we'll also like to say a very special thanks to the Minister for being here with us, the Permanent Secretary as well, and for all of you for being here with us this afternoon. And also for GIS, our very faithful team who's always with us, Mr. Hodge, Mr. Skerritt, and in the absence, Ms. Smith, Bria. And of course, my staff at the Department of Culture, thank you very much for your continued support. Ms. Doris, did you have any other?
Yes, I just want to, I don't want to forget the staff. Amen. I would like to give special thanks to the staff of the Department of Culture for sponsoring this event. I really appreciate it. You all put on your capes today for sure. And to me, it's special because it's an answer to prayer. I greatly desired to do a book launch here in Tortola because these are Tortolian stories. Who can rejoice with me more than you? Right? So thank you, Mrs. Hodge-Smith, Honorable Walwyn, Mr. McLean, Marsha Fred, and of course, my all-star family. I appreciate all of you, and God bless you.
All right, thank you very much again. The books are $15 a copy. You'll have a copy signed today.